Hi guys, and welcome back to another big episode of Kapow. You're just in time for the apocalypse. I'm Sonia.
And I'm Al, and yeah, things are getting a wee bit apocalyptic up in King's Comics this week because we're dedicating an entire episode to the cross-media phenomenon that is The Walking Dead. In fact, I'm quite surprised you even showed up.
Why? Oh, yeah, that's right, because I'm scared of zombies and all that stuff.
Oh man, you're evil, Sonia.
What? No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. Look, I may not have a Voight-Kampff machine here to test you or anything, but you just said zombies without shuddering. You're evil, Sonia. Does regular Sonia know you're here?
Yeah, it was actually her idea. Come on, whole episode about zombies, like she wants to be here.
Actually, no, that's the point.
Yeah.
I very much doubt she would have been able to get through it.
Nope.
I mean, we're starting with an overall look at the comic series, and I doubt she would have even gotten past that.
Probably not. And when Ray gets here, we're going to talk about the Walking Dead Season 4 premiere, and then move on to some Walking Dead collectibles.
And then we're topping it all off with a chat about all things undead with King Stuffer Scott. So yeah, you're right. There is no way regular Sonia would have gotten through all of that zombie stuff.
Nope, but I am raring to go, so let's do this!
Okay, but just stay in front of me and keep your hands where I can see them. All right, go on. Hey! The early 2000s were a bit of a boom time for zombies, really. I mean, in 2002, we had the release of 28 Days Later, which kind of whetted our appetite for the undead. And then in 2003, a man named Robert Kirkman was about to satisfy that craving by throwing out one of the most popular titles that Image have ever produced.
It's interesting that you link those two because they actually start exactly the same way. A man wakes up from a coma to find that the world has been all but destroyed by zombies. In the case of The Walking Dead, that man is Rick Grimes, a policeman from a small town in Kentucky.
There are other similarities as well in terms of the themes that are examined.
Yeah.
I mean, in a world overrun by hungry dead people, the greater danger remains the living. And as well as that, the effect that this crisis has on the psyches of the survivors is examined in depth. However, the zombies are completely different.
Very true, sir. Where 28 Days had screaming zombie sprinters, Walking Dead goes back to the glory days of shuffling zombie hordes that are deadly because of their single-mindedness and their sheer numbers.
And that allows the focus to remain on what becomes quite a large cast of characters. Once Rick catches up with his wife and son, he also adopts a group of survivors who look to him for protection and to lead them somewhere they can make a new life for themselves.
But there are worse things out there than zombies, and finding a safe place is not going to be easy. I would advise anyone getting into this series to kind of treat it like Game of Thrones. Any of your favourite characters can and will die.
Yeah, you get a bit desensitized to it after a while, which interestingly kind of mirrors the reactions of the characters in the story, who slowly become more hardened and brutal due to what they've experienced. Which brings us rather neatly to the violence.
Which, in this kind of title, you can assume there's a heck of a lot of it. Artist Charlie Adlard, who replaced Tony Moore after issue 7, doesn't shy away from some very visceral images, and I often wonder if the blood and gore would be more confronting if this comic was done in colour.
Well, Kirkman has said that the style was originally chosen, at least in part, for financial reasons, but that it also grounds the series in the grim human drama that it spends so much time developing. In a lot of ways, I think the series is better for the black and white look. I mean, it's part of what makes this such a unique title.
Yeah, and they certainly can't change it now.
No.
So, final thoughts, Al?
Okay, well, look, first of all, I would say this is not a series for everyone.
No.
I mean, it's not even a series for everyone who likes the TV show, because, I mean, there's a lot of differences. There are characters that exist in just one or the other, and it's also been fairly sanitized in its transition to screen. That said, if you like zombies even a little bit, you owe it to yourself to check this one out. It's amazingly brutal, but also very intelligent.
Yeah, it's the thinking person's zombie story, really, isn't it? Plenty of character development, but plenty of decapitations. It's really not hard to see why The Walking Dead has become such a massive hit, and I think there's still a lot of stories to tell. Well, there are characters still alive, at least.
One or two.
Look, I highly recommend you head out and get into The Walking Dead before anyone spoils it for you. Hey Ray.
Hey Sonia, hey guys.
So what Walking Dead goodies have you got for us today?
Well, we've already reviewed the amazing Michonne statue, so I thought we'd take a look at a couple of other collectibles in the lower price bracket.
Awesome.
So we've got the Sheriff Rick Grimes mini bust from the TV series and the Governor action figure from the comic series. Now the bust by Gentle Giant Limited depicts Grimes in his sheriff's uniform as he appears in the show's pilot episode. Pistol drawn, ready to take down criminals and walkers alike, these busts are limited editions. The Governor, on the other hand, by McFarlane Toys, features 28 points of articulation, sword, kitchen knife, pistol, and switch-out mutilated head and right arm.
Well, let's start with the bust.
Yep, alright.
I quite like the sculpt on this one. It's dynamic and it has a very similar physicality to Andrew Lincoln from the series.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
There's a rigidity about him, or how he plays the character anyway. And this detail is also exemplified in the rear hand, which could also be ready to quick draw on a second firearm. I also like that they chose to go that extra mile by including the utility belt and the radio in the bust.
Yeah, and it's the same with the paintwork.
Yeah.
There's a lot of care taken with the finer details, like the small print on his name tag and even the badge.
I feel the same with the airbrush work on the skin. It looks excellent. The only issue I have is with the face. Now, the website boasts an exact likeness of actor Andrew Lincoln. Now, I caught up with Andrew for a coffee during the week. I Skyped him and he and I discussed a few. I Googled his name and saw multiple images on my desktop in which I compared the mini bust beside it and then realized that the result, Sonia, more importantly, is that it is not an exact likeness to Andrew Lincoln. It is not even an exact likeness to that of the image featured on the box. It's close, but no cigar. So I'm going to give this mini bust a borrow.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and it's a borrow from me as well. But let's move on to the Governor.
Okay, well, visually, I think he looks great. The colours are good, the paintwork isn't sloppy, there's adequate detail from the creases of his clothes through to his scuffed boots, and the sculpt of the toy is sound. Look, I like the design of the head sculpt. The face is mischievous together with commanding. And the weapons also, I thought they looked good.
Yeah, I love that there's plenty to choose from, and it depends on what kind of scenario you're going to set.
Yeah, especially because you've got the switch-out mutilated arm and the face, and interchanging those parts is relatively easy, which I thought was really nice. However, that said, I thought that the articulation quality varies. The arms, on one hand, are quite dynamic, but the waist and hip movement are stunted. I like a figure that can sit and lunge with ease, and this figure doesn't quite do that successfully.
No, but each hand holds their respective weapons with ease. They don't fall out of his grip, which is nice, because it really bugs me when that happens.
Yeah, me too. But did you notice that the holster is fixed on his right side?
Yeah.
There ain't no way he's reaching for that gun, even with a go-go gadget arm.
True, but I quite like him. Look, there are some movement issues, but for under $30, you do get a decent figure. Even though he can't lunge or sit as well as maybe you'd like, you still get some interesting poses out of him, so I'm going to give him a borrow.
Well, look, I'd be inclined to give him a borrow too if, I was one of those collectors who like to keep them in, the packaging.
Yep.
I think he looks a lot better in the box than he does as a figure out of the box. That said, look, I wasn't too impressed with the horizontal movement of the ankle, and I also wasn't impressed with the fact that while I was manipulating the figure, or playing with this toy, his left elbow joint came away. Which begs the question whether having a switch-out amputated arm was even necessary given the inevitable future of Lefty. I'm giving him a berry. Sorry, Governor!
Oh, really?
Hey, Governor. Sorry, is it, Governor? Sorry, Gov. Not polishing your boots.
Okay, well, as this is a Walking Dead special, we thought it would be a good idea to bring our good friend Scott from King's Comics in to have a bit of a chat about this crazy zombie phenomena. So, first of all, thanks for joining us on Kapow, Scott.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
So, what do you think it is? What is it about The Walking Dead that's made it so popular now?
I think at the time when it came out, we're looking at 10 years ago now, celebrating its 10th anniversary, and it was doing something very different. Robert Kirkman, when he started this series, decided that it was going to be a never-ending survival story. So while we're looking at it as, and while a lot of people look at it as a zombie genre kind of story or series, and there were a lot of zombie stuff making a comeback after that.
There was.
Yeah.
Because there was 28 Days Later, and there was
Dawn of the
Dawn of the
Dead,
Dead.
Things like that, yeah. So, we see this resurgence in zombie things, but I don't think it was necessarily all about the zombies. Like I guess the premise of the show is, what do you do in society once it's broken down and you've got no food, you've got no power, you've got no police or anything like that. It's and it's almost a fantasy for some. Like you said, it's a very engaging read, and it's a very grounded kind of comic.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose a lot of people, you see a lot of stuff on the internet with people just going, okay, I wish there would be a zombie apocalypse, because then I could just go around cracking skulls. I think it's very deluded, but a lot of people do think that. I mean, but it's interesting you say it was something very individual, was something very different from standard superhero comics and from zombie fiction as well. It was something different as well.
Yeah. I mean, you can see it has spawned all kinds of. I mean, TV shows that have spun out like Doomsday Preppers or even Man vs. Wild. It's like what do you do once society's broken out? What do you bring to the world, to this new world?
How do you help
skills?
Keep going?
It's what I think has kept people going with the comic series, and it's a constant seller in the shop. It always sells out.
Yeah, I think I've also found that I remember seeing on the back of the trades and things like that. There's bits about what would happen if you didn't have your iPod, you didn't have Facebook, you couldn't just go down the supermarket. What if you actually had to start living? It's that seems to be an underlying thing to the whole series. That it's looking at that concept of stripping everything away and how would you actually deal with that, which I think is probably also a part of why it's so popular as well.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I have been wondering about this that you've probably come in contact with working at King's is it seems to be a lot of people in fact, who aren't really big comic readers will get into the Walking Dead comics. So have you found that?
That's true. It's very true. I guess a lot of people are drawn from the TV show, and that's the same with a lot of things. Whether a movie comes out, I'll often have people come into the store and they're not aware that it's a comic series. So I mean, now that we're into season 4, it's been around 10 years. So a lot of people, this story's a fair way along. And I mean, in regards to maybe not reading other comic series, it's just superhero stuff isn't for everyone, I guess. I mean, that's why it was popular to begin with. I think.
Yeah. So I suppose that's another element that people. So it is again. It's about it being something different is going to draw people in.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is a crazy cross-media, massive thing. Like we've got TV show, we've got the comic books, we've got games that are coming out, and it has been 10 years. So do you reckon it's got another 10 years to go, or is it going to slowly lose steam? Are we going to get bored with zombies?
I don't think the comic series will slow down. We look at a lot of really popular TV shows today, and I mean they're ending after 7 seasons, 8 seasons, 7 years, 8 years.
Sure.
So I think he's successfully really made the show different from the comic.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So we'll keep us guessing. If you like Daryl in the show, one of you guys was mentioned, you won't see him in the comic series at all.
No.
Ever.
So, it has been asked, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're never bringing him in. So if anybody's waiting for Daryl Dixon to show up in the comics, not going to happen at any point. So I mean, but that makes sense, I think, to give something unique to either media.
That's true.
And like we were saying, it's a never-ending survival story, and after 115 issues, it's still consistently good.
There's still stuff going on,
and
isn't there?
what you think after all that time, you wouldn't think of other problems that would have that they do. Yeah, and it's something that a lot of comic readers will always have under their belt, but they might drop off reading other series or superhero stuff and things like that, but they'll always be reading Walking Dead.
Cool.
Hopefully it's kind of a gateway. If people come in, they check out, Walking Dead is a comic. Oh, actually, that looks kind of good too. So, to get people into other stuff. So that's a positive thing about it, I would say.
Yeah, it is.
Is it an easy series to get into, though?
It's definitely not an easy after 115 issues, like I was saying. I recommend reading it in trade paperback, which are the most frequent things to come out. You can get those. There's 19 of those. You can also pick up a compendium. Compendiums have 8 volumes, and then another 8, so you've got 16. There's 19 all up. I recommend reading.
Hang out on a weekend and read one of those.
I don't read them all at once, though. That's a mistake.
The story is convoluted, but it's it would be very hard to get into in monthly issues. I highly recommend going to trade paperbacks for it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and having a bit of a chat about the crazy phenomena that is The Walking Dead.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
So as you know, we're doing a bit of a Walking Dead special. We thought we'd take a look at something that premiered on FX channel, The Walking Dead Season 4, of course. Yes. Sonia, what are your thoughts, your initial thoughts?
Well, we're in Season 4, and I think it actually did start fairly strongly.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed a lot of the character development that happened in this episode. The acting in it was really quite strong. There
were
a
some
lot of
good
characters.
performances.
There were a few weak points where I kind of went, really?
Any
But
in particular?
I'm not going to go into that. That's fine.
No names.
Overall, I think that it was pretty strong. I really enjoyed the set piece, though, that happened.
The major
Now,
action scene.
We should just mention, look, if you haven't watched this episode yet, you might, and you want to watch it spoiler-free, you might want to just skip over this, because
We won't go
might
into
give
too much
something
detail.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
there is a fantastic set piece with zombies falling through a roof, which looked amazing, and it just added that extra bit of, oh my god, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Which I think this, episode 1 needs to happen for a 4th season. You need to get that real action happening and the threat of the zombies happening again, which I think did really well. Although I would have liked it to have gone a little bit longer. But, my main thing that I'm looking for in this season, though, is Carl. I want him to develop. I need him, the actor is getting older, therefore the character needs to be getting older and
kids
a
do
bit
that.
more, this kid's grown up in a zombie apocalypse. He needs to become a little bit more hardcore. He needs to be a little bit more like Carl in the comic books, if I might say.
Because,
you know?
I mean, a lot of stuff's gone down for Carl in the comics. He's come
lot.
a long way
Yeah.
over the time frame.
Looks
in
a
that.
little different.
Yes, he does. We won't go into
Do
details.
you think that's
why,
holding people up from empathizing with this character, perhaps?
Well, I think maybe they do want him to move on.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I do. I'd like him to
yeah.
move on, become more of a threat, maybe play with his personality a bit more, sort of see the effects of growing up in this world. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, I did really enjoy this. I'm looking forward to seeing how the season's going to progress.
Okay,
Yeah, fair enough.
What about you, Al?
Well, I think it's one of the main things that we need to point out. This is a new season with a new showrunner. I mean, we've got Scott Gimple taking over as showrunner. I think there were a lot of
Change
people.
it up a bit.
Yeah, well, it's like when a sports team's foundering a little bit, you bring in a new coach.
Yeah,
And I think that's kind of what's been happening here. Season 3, there were a lot of people felt it was kind of getting a bit loose, getting a bit slow in the 3rd season. So they've jumped in with a new showrunner. I mean, we're already seeing there's more of a focus, I think, on zombies and zombie action than there was in the 3rd season. 3rd season very much about human-on-human violence, which, all well and good, but this is called The Walking Dead. So, maybe get the zombies getting a bit of a throwdown. So I think that's looking good. I'm glad they're going more in that direction. Also glad that they're keeping a hold of one of the main things that have kept people watching, which is the end of episode cliffhanger.
Yes.
I mean, I've got to say, in all honesty, way more of a fan of the comics than I am of the TV show. I feel that it's been fairly sanitized. It's been fairly sort of diluted, I guess. I mean, the violence, there's still obviously extreme violence, but not anywhere near as bad as the comics. And sometimes I feel like I want to get some of that crazy violence in there.
That's where I think the potential of this new threat, which we won't
mention anything about that one.
The cliffhanger on the end of this one.
Exactly. Might well, breed a new kind of life into this world. It's something I think that probably could have been touched on a little earlier, given the circumstances, the reality of this world.
Yep.
Sure.
So I'm interested to see what this is going to yield.
It should be explosive. It should be pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's right. And look, the episode's really good, but I have my reservations because historically, the season by season, they start off very strong,
Really strong,
and then they sort of dwindle out by the end. It's almost as though they lose direction or the stakes.
The momentum maybe
exactly the
drops a little
momentum.
bit.
Yeah, they're not. There's no satisfaction every couple of episodes. They're not moving forward. They're not closing any conflicts or arcs. Yeah,
and maybe they're relying a little too much on that sort of end of episode crazy thing. It's, boring. People talking. Oh, geez, what's that? Okay, now I have to watch the next one. And you feel a little bit irritated by that as well. A bit cheated that you were ready to let it go, and then but why did that? Fine, I'll watch the next one. And it's not, you're not doing it because you're enjoying it, you're doing it because you have to know. That's not really treating the fans that fairly, I
Do you think that it would suffer if just one of those episodes or a couple episodes didn't leave that cliffhanger, perhaps? It was just, almost...
well, it depends on whether you really have the solid story in there carrying you through. Because if there's a good solid story, there's interesting stuff happening in the episode.
That's right.
You're gonna keep
So it doesn't
you
matter.
can get away without a big sort of end of episode craziness.
Yeah, exactly.
But you do need that strong through line, a really compelling story that keeps people watching. Or they always had that in the comics. They did have the cliffhanger endings, but they kept, the really solid story going through.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, that's what we thought. So you guys can leave your comments on our Facebook, our YouTube, and we'd be really interested to see what you think.
Yeah. And that's it for another big episode of Kapow.
Yes, it is. So I guess you'll want to be on your way. Lots of evil stuff to be doing.
Yep. Lots of evil to be doing.
You looking for something?
Car keys?
Car keys. Right, I thought it might be this taser.
Damn.
Yep. Hey.
Hey. Nice one.
Thanks.
Have you told them all about next week?
Oh no, I was waiting for you to get here.
Wicked. All right. So we've already done 10 episodes for this season, but we thought we'd throw a little bit extra at you.
Yeah, because we're just that generous.
We are. So we have 2 more specials.
Yes.
The first one is all things Thor. We're going to take a look at the new movie. We're going to give you our top 5 Thor stories as well.
Yeah, so that's going to be awesome. But then there's the one that I'm most excited about. With Batman Arkham Origins coming out, we decided we'd spend an episode roaming the halls of everyone's favourite nut house.
Awesome.
So we're having an Arkham Asylum special.
It's exciting.
It is.
So until then, guys, bye.
Bye.
What are we going to do with
I
her?
don't know.
Ah, she's moving. She's moving.
Dude. Ooh,
Oh, that's going to leave a mark.
maybe we should just... Come on.